takes my breath away. What you give brightens up my day. There's nothing better than love. Feel your warm embrace, your hug, your touch. Never wanna imagine life without you. There's nothing better than love. Something so magical feels unreal. A fantasy place where children live. I feel like a princess in a fairy tale. You came along and you changed my world. There's nothing better than love. Feel warm embrace, your hug, your touch.
Okay, let's get going this morning or this evening. And welcome to our program this evening, A Course in Miracles, Studies in A Course in Miracles. And I will be the group leader this evening, Alonzo Fleming. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This evening has been a pretty, it's been a pretty workaholic kind of day. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, just type in the chat room if you can hear me okay. If I'm coming through loud and clear, I got to get my flux capacitor fluxing and all my gadgets and bells and whistles going. So anyway, we're dealing with, I'm not going to take too much of your time this evening. We are dealing with the laws of chaos. And I'm hoping that everybody is studying their course and doing the lessons. I was talking to somebody today, and I was pointing out that if you're going to skimp on anything, don't skimp on doing the daily lessons, because the daily lessons are the key. It's the key. You can always pick up the theoretical aspect of the text. You know, if you just still want to, I want to encourage you to just do it. Just do it. This 1 year, just do it. Because you know what, ladies and gentlemen, the world, as you see, is coming apart. And it's going to, like the prophet said, you are the light of the world. That's you. You're the light of the world. And as the darkness gets more and more gross, then you're going to need lights. So today we're dealing with something that's found in the text of A Course in Miracles. This is in chapter 23. And that is the laws of chaos and the irreconcilable beliefs. And this is under the war against yourself. And I want you all to pay attention to this whole idea about waging war against yourself. And what all that entails. Waging war against yourself. And that waging of war is against yourself, and it comes up under the laws of chaos and irreconcilable beliefs. And so the goal of this particular session this evening is to help us to restore the mind under the conscious laws of God. To restore our minds bring the laws of God, which are ever working in you. It doesn't matter what you have done and what you are doing. The laws are still working in you, and they are just not at your conscious level. So this particular session is to help us to restore the mind under the conscious laws of the Creator. And it entails rising above emotion and superstition and looking at principles and resting in those principle-based thinking of God. That's the idea, to get you in connection with your God level, your God, what we call higher order thinking. because it's there. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you've done. You cannot extinguish it because you didn't put it there. You didn't start the fire, as the song goes. So, brothers and sisters, there's all levels of knowledge. And this knowledge has been hidden for the most part from us. And it just takes a little willingness to search and consider. And once you search and consider the knowledge, in other words, go right outside of your comfort zone. And you're going to discover that the knowledge that you are receiving is all about you. And it's all about developing you. And that development has nothing to do with changing you, but bringing you in consciousness with yourself. And the more consciousness you become about yourself, people, the brighter and brighter you shine, the stronger and stronger you get. And so, because this knowledge has been hidden from us, and I'm talking mainly about black people, or people calling themselves black, but everybody, we are in the Stone Age with respect to knowledge. We're in the Stone Age because we have been squished or squeezed into a box or some sort of container that does not allow you to question what you have been told. And you know that when you question what you've been told, it has to put up. It has to put up, you know, when you begin to question. And so those of us with college degrees, we're going around boasting about how many degrees we got. We got 1 or 2 degrees, and we're boasting. And these degrees are nothing when you think of 1 or 2 degrees on a 360 degree scale. You realize that you are really laying down. You're standing up when you have 90 degrees, you see. But when you got 2 degrees or 3 degrees, you are literally still laying down. So we're boasting about these degrees, these pieces of paper that were supposed to represent knowledge. But because of a certain policy and a certain mindset of the world, we've been giving a whole lot of knowledge about nothing. Do you hear me? We've been given a whole lot of knowledge about nothing. And we are in the Stone Age, people, when it comes to knowledge. Now, I want you to take notes, because you're going to need them, because you're going to have to do a little research and going into your Course in Miracles and your dictionary and understanding what I'm talking about. We're talking about the laws of chaos and irreconcilable beliefs that come under the laws of chaos. When you access the thinking of God, the first thing you notice is freedom. That's the first thing you notice. All the things that you felt were destroying you, they began to fall off, and you noticed a freedom began to bubble up in you, as it were. That's the first thing you begin to notice. And this freedom is based on remembering God. That's what this freedom is based on. Remembering God. See, you know God, and God definitely knows you, but you don't remember. You're like the prodigal son in the pig pen. He had forgotten who he was, so he had no idea who his father was. And so once he came to himself, it's symbolic of him remembering himself, even though he was in the pig pen. So it doesn't matter the condition you're in. Once the remembering starts to return, you remember your father. You remember your father through yourself. He came to himself, says Jesus in that story in the 17th chapter of the book of Luke. He came to himself. And when he came to himself, he remembered his father. And that's the same thing that we're doing. We're coming to ourselves, And in that coming to ourselves, we remember our father and we remember our brothers. We remember everything that went on in the father's house. If you remember in that story, he said, the servants have food enough to eat in my father's house. He began to remember the situation of his father's house. And that's what we will do. And the darkness of the world has been set, ladies and gentlemen, in such a way to blind us from remembering. And we're going to explore that this evening and bring the remembrance of God back to our awareness. And this awareness is the remembering that you are one with God. It is the awareness of your oneness with God. You're one with God right now, right here. Think of what you think about yourself. You may think bad things about yourself. You're one with God right now. And when we go into these chaotic laws and start talking about them, you'll see how that's possible regardless of what you're thinking about yourself. And this is where the power is, people. This is where the power is. The power is not in marching. The power is not in voting. The power is not in programs and plans. The power is in the remembrance of the self. And in that remembrance of the self, you remember your father. So this oneness with God that we are attempting this evening to elevate our consciousness to, I want you to turn, if you have your Course in Miracles, I want you to turn to chapter 23 of your course, and we're going to start with the laws of chaos. Oh no, I want you to go to page 486. Yeah, we'll start there. Page 486 in your text. Not your lessons, the text. The text is in the... So we'll start with the irreconcilable beliefs. And this is important, whether or not you're studying. But I do want you to encourage those of you who are in the broadcast to pick up a copy of A Course in Miracles or go to the Sunday school, because I post it in the Sunday school every day. I post the day's lesson in there. And you can read the entire Course in Miracles online. Let me see if I can get it out here. You just go to acim.org. acim.org. So on page 486, that's section 1, the irreconcilable beliefs, and paragraph 1 reads, the memory of God comes to the quiet mind. It cannot come where there is conflict. For a mind at war against itself remembers not eternal gentleness. This means the means of war, listen, the means of war are not the means of peace. And what the warlike would remember is not love. The means of war. In other words, the ways of war. The ways you get war are not the same ways that you get peace. Now, that's what it means when it said the means of war. You know, the ways you use to get war are not the ways you use to get peace. So what are the means of war? Jesus, while he was doing a miracle, this is right after the situation with the lady caught in adultery, while he was doing miracles, and the preachers of his day, in an attempt to undermine his teaching, charged Jesus with doing his miracles under the power of Satan, of the evil one. They said he's doing this miracles by the power of Beelzebub, the chief devil. And in this situation, I want you to see how Jesus thought, and I want you to see how you really think that Jesus is a model of you. He is a model of the Son of God, which is you. Excuse me. It's hard to believe that you have that lofty position. But there's reasons why, and as we go through this chaos, these laws of chaos, you will see. So when they accused Jesus of doing his miracles through the power of the devil, Jesus first asked them a rhetorical question. He said, if I do good works by the power of the devil, by what power do you do good works? In other words, if you're saying that my good that I'm doing is of the devil, then what spirit is influencing you when you do good works? Do you see this? We're making the point that the means of war is not the same means of peace, that the ways of evil is not the same ways of good. So he asked them that question. He said, okay, let's deal with this. If I'm doing good by the power of Satan, by what power are you doing good? Because good is good. If we're going to use that standard, he made a logical point that everybody could see. He said, if Satan overthrows Satan, then his kingdom shall come to naught. So in other words, if Satan uses good to trick you into following him, then he is literally tearing up his kingdom at the same time. See, this is chaos. This is chaotic thinking. Do you understand that? If Satan cast out Satan, because he was casting out devils, he said, if Satan casts out Satan, then his kingdom is going to come to naught. He's tearing up his own kingdom by doing good. And I say the same thing for God. If God leads you into temptation, okay, buckle up your seatbelt. It's seatbelt time. This car about to roll. This car is about to roll. Buckle your seatbelt up because it's about to get bumpy. I'm saying the same thing about God. If God, listen, leads you into temptation or sets up a situation to tempt you and test you or collaborate with the devil to kill your children and destroy your family just to see what you would do, God would be trying to establish his kingdom by using the tools of Satan. Let you think on that for a minute. If God sets you up with temptation, Jesus said, lead us not into temptation. If God sets you up with temptation, is not the tempter the devil? So God's setting you up with temptation, but while he's trying to build his kingdom, if you will, using that. So if he sets you up with temptation or collaborate with the devil to kill your children, destroy your family just to see what you would do, God would be trying to establish his kingdom by using the tools of Satan, and we could not tell the difference between God and Satan because Satan uses good and God uses evil. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's chaotic. Do you understand this, what I just said? Do you see this? See, because your thinking, brothers and sisters, is now getting straightened out. Your thinking is starting to become strong. Your thinking is starting to be, you're starting to see the truth. And you're no longer going to be bamboozled by superstition. No longer. Now, listen. Let me finish with this. Let's go read it some more. Do you realize this is paragraph 2 of the irreconcilable belief? You see, that is irreconcilable. You can't have God using the tools of Satan to build his kingdom and Satan using the tools of God to build his kingdom. chaos. It degenerates into superstition. Do you not realize, says verse 2, do you not realize a war against yourself would be a war on God? You see, because God, this war that we're waging is against ourselves. It's inside of us, brothers and sisters, because an operating system was put in our heads that conflict with our nature. And the struggle is the struggle to release the operating system of Satan. Release the operating system of the God of this world. You don't have to fight against sin. You just release the operating system that runs the programs of sin. Reformat your hard drive. You reformat your hard drive. Now we had somebody put in here, let me show it. That's why people say they are mad at God, because he allowed evil things to happen to them, even when they prayed. Exactly. See, this is a very good point, and I'm going to hit on it just a little bit. What was that, Patricia? That's why people say that they are mad at God, because God allowed evil things to happen to them even when they prayed. If you notice, we're always calling for justice after the shooting. They want justice after the shooting. They're praying after the shooting. Never praying for protection or getting the protection, but says there's some chaotic things going on here. We're going to get to that. But that's a very good point, Patricia, that they mad. This war is against ourselves, though, because when we release it, just as you see, now buckle your seatbelts up again, just as you see evil encompassing the world, it's a testimony of the thinking of the human family. So when the human family release the thinking of evil, you will see peace and love and justice breaking out everywhere, just like you see violence breaking out everywhere. It's very, very simple. So you are at war against yourself, and this war against yourself is also a war against God. But God is not at war with you. This war that you wage, that we're waging against ourselves, this is paragraph 5. The war against yourself was undertaken to teach the Son of God, you, to teach you that you are not yourself and not your father's son. This is the war. It's trying to overthrow your nature and make you believe that you are not yourself, that you are not real, that you are not the creation of God. And therefore, God is not your father, and God got to go through some adoption process. He got to get him an adoption agency to adopt you into his family. This is the war going on within. And this war is a war that requires you to forget your father. Go back to the prodigal son. And so our task here is to bring back your remembrance of your father. Now, let me do some more foundational stuff here before I go on. So, we said that God does not use the tools of Satan to get his kingdom built. So you can throw that out. You can throw it out your mind. This is not God doing this. This is not God doing that. This is not God killing those people. Wait till you discover who it is. Brothers and sisters, now if you have a question, we're going to get to Job, Tyrone. We're going to get to Job. See, you see this situation going on in Job, where it appears that God is collaborating with the devil to test this righteous man by killing his family, inflicting him with a disease, bankrupting him, and causing him to be killing his servants to see whether or not this man was going to raise his fist up and say, "Curse ye, God." God collaborating with the devil. And so you see this. I ain't going to go through the whole story. If you want to check it out, I did a program on this Job, but I might do it again because a lot of people have not heard this. And I break that story down so you can understand it. See, notice this. Jesus in his prayer, think about Job as I show you these scriptures. Jesus in his prayer said, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." In the book of James, it says that no man say when he is tempted, "I am tempted of God." Why? Because God does not tempt any man, neither can God be tempted by any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust. Drawn away from what? Drawn away from himself. And he's enticed. So God doesn't tempt. God don't lead you into temptation. So who is this collaborating with the devil to tempt a righteous man by killing his kids, bankrupting him, giving him a hideous disease? Do you see how your mind now can reconcile this, because you got the ability to throw that stuff out your mind by virtue of the fact that you realize that God does not tempt? You can throw that out now. You can throw it out your mind. And we're going to raise that point some more. But I want to get this point out here, because I want you all, brothers and sisters, I want us to apply the principles of A Course in Miracles to our daily problems, to our daily struggles, to test it, to see if it works. See, because your confidence comes through accomplishment. When you put the pressure on it, if it doesn't hold up, then you throw it out. You see, it says, prove all things, the Bible says. Hold fast to that which is good. So you see, this is something that's inherent in you. Now, listen to this. We are manifesting in flesh. Manifesting as flesh. Not manifesting in flesh, but we are manifesting flesh. We call our manifestations bodies. We say, my hand, my foot, my eyes. This implies, brothers and sisters, that the body is not you, but that you are in possession of a body. Do you see the distinction? Because if it's my car, I am not the car, but I'm using the car. Do you see that? I take care of the car, I wash the car, I drive the car, and I say it's my car. I need some new wheels on my car. See, so it implies that you and the car are not the same thing, but the car is an extension, or you're using the car. So it's the same way with the body. It's the same logic. You are not the body. You are using the body. That's why it's my hand, my finger, my lips, my this, my that. Well, then it begs the question, who are you? It begs that question. So the body is a communication device, and it is a device that you are using. Now, before you think I'm talking something strange, this is something that our ancient ancestors understood and knew. This is something that we practiced, an ancient practice, before the ego came into our minds and tried to tell us that we are something other than the sons of God. This is ancient Egyptian, ancient Nubian. This is not new. It's just that it has been hidden from us through the blindness of our minds. But The difference between manifesting with flesh and manifesting in flesh is this way, is this. When you are manifesting in flesh, it means, brothers, that you have moved your mind or the thought or your thinking into your body. And this is how we have the temptations. This is how we have the insecurity. This is how we have the volatility, because our minds have been moved into our bodies. And that's why you think you are a body. That's why we think we are a body, because our mind is in our bodies. And we are identifying with the body as the primary source of our existence. When your mind is in the body, your thinking and your identity are based on what you do or don't do. Okay? When your mind is in your body, your thinking and your confidence is based on what you do or what you don't do. So you define yourself by your actions, by your acts, or what you refrain from doing. The definition is centered around your body. But if my car gets a flat tire, I fix the car. I don't have a flat tire. My car has a flat tire. I don't need no gas. My car needs gas. But if I identify with the body or with the car, I would say, and we do it, we say it, I need some gas. We normally say, I need to get some gas. But we shorten it because we're just saying, I need to get some gas in my car. You see, we do not identify with the car, even when the car is having problems. But let's suppose we did identify with the car. If we identify with the car, now if you all have questions, go ahead and jump on in, just say it, and I'll post it up on the screen. I didn't do yours, Tyrone, about Joe, but I'll get it the next time. But listen, if you identified with the car, you would say, I'm not working when you're talking about your radio. You would say, what we do, my heat don't work. But we're really saying the car's heat doesn't work. You see? So I want to make that subtle point. When you are thinking that you are in the flesh, you are thinking that the you exists within the physical body. That your mind is not no superstitious thing I'm talking, brothers and sisters. This is something that is real and exact. You thinking that you are in the body. And Tyrone, this is how the escape happens. The escape is happening when you elevate your mind out of the body into the thinking of God, into your higher faculties. You're going to discover that your mind is outside the body. I'm about to get thrown off of the internet for saying that. When the body is a communication device, let me read it in the Course in Miracles here. Let me read it in the Course in Miracles. See, the war against yourself is a war to make you believe that you are not yourself or what God created, that you are something other than what God created. If we go to Beyond the Body, and this is on page 384 in your text, I want to read a piece here to help clarify that. It starts out in Beyond the Body, section 5 or 6. It's on page 384 of your text. There is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn. For it is the realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. Now I want to jump down. It says, it is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness and nothing else within. The belief that you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and of your identity. The belief that you can give and get something else has cost you the awareness of heaven as well as the awareness of your identity. You don't know who you are. And you have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. Listen, here's what you have done. You have displaced your guilt to your body from your mind. You have displaced your guilt to your body from your mind. See, the world has charged you with sin and you are guilty, as it says, as it charges you. And the mind cannot be guilty, but because the mind has accepted this whole guilt thought system, but can't be guilty, it has to put that guilt somewhere. And so it displaces the guilt to the body and try to cause the body to act out of that guilt that's in the mind. Listen, yet the body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. And this is why when you decide to stop using your body, the body stands still. It goes back to the earth. It doesn't move. It doesn't do anything. You have decided that not to use it anymore. You who think you hate your body deceive yourself. See, you hating your body, what your body is causing you to do. It's causing you to do this and causing you to do that. Just think of the thing that you think your body is causing you to do. The bad habits that you turn. The body can do nothing of itself. What is happening is your mind is in your body. And so now we have to get the mind out of the body, and that is how we will be free of the habits of the thinking that has beset us and caused us so much pain and heartache. You hate your mind, for guilt has entered in it, and it will remain separate from your brothers, which it cannot do. Now listen, minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning to the mind, listen, only by assigning to the mind the properties of the body, the separation seemed to be possible. Assigning to the mind the properties of the body. What are the properties of the body? Volatility, instability, mistrust. These are the properties of the body because of the volatility and the chaotic. And when I say the body, I'm talking about all physical manifestations, all material. That is body too. It's very unstable. And so when you try to assign to the mind and the body does not have the same properties. The body cannot think. The body cannot reason. The mind cannot be fragmented. The mind cannot die. So by assigning to the body the properties, assigning to the mind the properties of the body, your confusion and separation seems possible. So this is what it is when you are thinking that you are in the body. When the Bible talks about walking in the flesh, It is talking about having your mind in your body. So we are now doing our lessons, and our lessons are elevating our minds. It is elevating the mind out of the body. In other words, the body, you are not identifying the self as the body. You are putting the body in the proper place where it is supposed to be, a communication device. That is what the body is. So we are manifesting flesh. We are communicating with the body, or using the body to communicate. Well, if you are not the body, who or what are you? If you're not the body, who are you or what are you? I want to go for a moment and hit on this point here, and I don't get to my lessons because I beat the points down so much. There was an example when Jesus in the Bible, and this is found in Matthew chapter 4, starting at verse 1. And Tyrone, you can actually use this example to kind of help you to understand the story of Job too. This example is an example of Jesus removing the mind from the body. This story is an example of that. Then was Jesus led up of the wilderness to be tempted by the devil, says John chapter 4 verse 1. And when he was hungered, he began to fast, or he fasted, I should say. And then after he started fasting, the tempter came and started tempting him. He said, if thou be the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. Do you see the mind? The temptation is to get the mind into the body. If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down on to the ground, because his angels are going to hold you up. Do you see this? It has to do with the body. The tempter is tempting him with the body to get his mind into his body. Or he's now being tempted, but his mind is, he's now getting his mind out of the body during this period. Because the temptation was to keep his mind in the body because he was hungry. So his mind was in his body. But now thou shalt not live by bread alone, he says, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. So he takes his mind out of the body. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. See? When he took him to the temple. Then he showed him all the kingdoms of the world. Notice Satan took him to the temple, to the tip of the temple, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. It tells you who the world belongs to. It tells you who's ruling the world. And it tells you where he's ruling at. Over the temple. The pinnacle of the temple is where he took him. Over the church. This is all symbols to help you to reason, brothers and sisters. So Jesus, going back to it, did not succumb to the temptations. But it says here that then was he led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted. So the question is, who or what spirit was that leading him into the wilderness? Some will say it was the Holy Spirit. God does not lead us into temptation. God delivers us from evil. So it wasn't the Holy Spirit. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, because God does not tempt any man, neither can God be tempted by a man. But every man is tempted, Jesus, every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, says the book of James. Jesus was tempted. He was led away. And when he got into the wilderness, he realized what had happened, and he began to bring his body under subjection by fasting. And it was when he was hungry through the fasting, he didn't go there too fast. He went there and he realized that he was off course, and he started fasting to bring his body into subjection to God's will. He wasn't led into the wilderness by the Holy Spirit. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. Because God does not tempt, neither can he be tempted. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So you see, once he got in the wilderness and he realized where he was off course, it says, and behold, angels came and ministered to him, led him or delivered him from evil, just like the prayer said. But he was not tempted or led into the wilderness by God. This is a model, brothers and sisters, for, see, I'm putting some meat on the bones of them scriptures. This is a model for us. And this is what has been hidden. They know it, but they're not going to tell you, because if they ever told you, you would realize your own power, and you would not have to go sit there and be preached to all the time. You wouldn't have to give your money. You wouldn't have to bankrupt yourself keeping them cathedrals open. I had a brother, poor as a church mouse, tell me today that he put $5 in a circle. The preacher made a little circle and told everybody to toss their $5 in there, because he gonna get blessed. You was blessed when you had the money in your hand. So Jesus was removing his mind from his body and returning it to Ma'at. Returning his mind to Ma'at. This is an African concept. Returning his mind to his heart. And we're going to get into the science of the heart later on in March. And the heart functions after the one law, and that one law is the law of love. And the fruits of the one law of love is Ma'at, truth, justice, balance, order. Truth, justice, balance, order. And that brings us to the laws of chaos now. So if we go now and the laws of chaos, which starts on page 489 in your text of the Course in Miracles. This is the law of chaos, section 2. The laws of chaos can be brought to light through, though never understood. You can bring them to light, but you can't understand them because they're so volatile and so illogical that you can't understand the laws of chaos. But the world functions under the laws of chaos. And you are at the bottom of the world, brother. You have been designated at the bottom of the world. The laws of chaos can be brought to light, though never understood. Chaotic laws are hardly meaningful and therefore out of reason's sphere. They're not meaningful, so you can't use them to reason. This is why in your churches it's superstition. This is why they believe in that a piece of bread turns into the body, rather than what it really is, a symbol of the body. That a cup of wine turns into the blood and they're drinking blood and eating flesh. Not coming to terms with the fact you can't understand that. And if you say, how is it that this wine turns into blood? Oh, you just gotta believe. You just gotta believe. Brother, that's chaos. Yet they appear to be an obstacle to reason and to truth. Let's go right to them. The first law of chaos. Are you ready? Here's the first law of chaos. The first chaotic law is that the truth is different for everyone. Like all these principles, this one maintains that each is separate and has a different set of thoughts, and that sets him off from others. The first law of chaos is that truth is different. And if you believe truth is different from everyone, you can separate yourself. You can be separate from your brother. See, because there's a truth that he has and a truth that he has. And there's 7.5 billion people on there, which means that there's 7.5 billion truths. Because every man for himself. This is chaos. Let me show you. Let me help you understand this a little further. And I like to use gravity. Under the principle of gravity, gravity is the same in London, Pakistan, Russia. Gravity is the same in China, Japan, United States. Gravity is the same down under in Australia at the North Pole. Gravity is the same on Mount Everest. Gravity is the same under the sea. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what you believe. It is the same. But the law of chaos says that there's a different truth and all of it is true. Even though it contradicts the other man's truth, it's true and his is true and they contradict. Do you see how that's a chaotic law? Do you understand how that's a chaotic law? You can't have Church of God in Christ, which contradicts Baptist Church, which contradicts Apostolic, which contradicts Presbyterian, which contradicts this one and that one, and they all reading out the same book. That's chaos, brother. You can't have all these truths contradicting each other. One of them can't be true. But the laws of chaos say, yes, they can. And so the world functions under the first law. It is the basis of all the laws of chaos, that there's truth different for everyone. And as a result of this first law of chaos, separation, segregation, hatred, racial hatred, religious hatred, cultural hatred is able to exist because no one can come to terms with a one truth. There's a different truth for everyone. The second law of chaos is found on page 490. Now see, under that first one, you establish degrees of truth among illusions. All of them are illusions. There's only one truth, and that one truth is the truth of love. That is the one truth. Up under the truth of love comes these things, the laws of Ma'at. That it comes under love, I should say. Love is the law. God is love. Love is law. And all truth comes up under the one law of love. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. You don't hear me. But under the worldly laws of chaos that separated ones employ to exist in the world, and the book says that Satan blinds the mind. Satan is the god of this world. That's found in the book of 2 Corinthians. Satan blinds the mind of them who believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the Son of, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. They have to have chaos to run this world. You cannot have order. The second law of chaos is the law that all have sinned and come short to the glory of God. This is a law of chaos. This is the second, because this is what it means. All have sinned, and everybody must sin, therefore deserves attack, and therefore deserves death. It puts you at odds with God, because you are sinning against God, and you are sinning against your brother, which is in the similitude of God. So if the chaotic law says that all gotta sin, then you see yourself and you see your brother and you see God himself or herself as sin. And what this second law of chaos does, it positions God having to forgive sin and punish sin at the same time. I need to get my welder out for this one, because your seat belts ain't gonna hold you. It positions God in a place to have to both punish you and forgive you for sin. And I'm saying that this is a statement of a law of chaos, that all have sinned. It's a chaotic law. Let's examine that with some logic and reason. Like you say, come on, let us reason together. Let's suppose I had a light bill, and I do, because these boys don't know what a down switch look like in this house. They don't know that my lights don't have a down position. They're always up and the lights are always on in every single room. But let's suppose I owe the light bill and I couldn't pay my light bill. And you know, my checks would bounce, so they won't take my checks. My credit cards are maxed out, so they won't take my credit cards. And I can't pay my light bill. But I have this friend. The light company said, we're going to shut you down. We're going to kill your light, your electricity. But I got this friend who says, I'll pay the light bill for you. My money is good with the light company. And so the light company says, yes, okay, cool. He's going to pay the light bill for you. And we will accept his payment. And so he pays the light bill, and I never have to pay again, because he paid it once and for all. So I never have to pay a light bill again. Now my question to you, brothers and sisters, under this scenario is this. Did the light company forgive my debt, or did they get paid? I want you to think about it. Which happened here? Did the light company forgive the debt, or did they get paid? Now, I believe that, you know, those of you who are in finances understand what I'm talking about. See, if the light company forgave the debt, when you forgive a debt, you don't get paid. There is no debt when you forgive a debt. So if you forgive a debt, you can't get paid. And if you pay a debt, you didn't forgive it. Do you see this? This subtle point is very important. If you forgive a debt, then you don't take payment for the debt. If you take payment for the debt, you didn't forgive the debt. So this idea that God, or that everybody must sin, which is the second law of chaos, that everybody must sin and everybody does sin, positions God as having to forgive you and punish you at the same time. It's chaos. If you go to the story of the 17th chapter of Luke, when he deals with the prodigal son came back. He had made up a story in his mind. Father, this is what I'm going to tell my father. I have sinned and no longer worthy to be thy son. He thought that what he did put him out of the sonship. But the scripture said, but the father said to his servants. The father didn't even address what the boy was talking about. You see that? He did not even deal with what the boy thought. And this brings us to our third law of chaos. That if you have designated yourself as a sinner, then God must accept your belief in what you say you are and hate you for it. If you are what you said you are, a sinner and sinful and must sin, then it positions God. This is how you're at war with God. It positions God as having to accept what you have designated yourself as being. And therefore God hates you for that, because God didn't make that and he made everything. So how is that? Do you see how chaos, these laws, turns your spirituality upside down on its head, and it makes no sense. It has no power because it is chaotic and superstitious. And so you go back and back and back and back to the church, and you go up for prayer over and over and over and over, and you wailing and crying and begging for help all the time, because you don't understand that you're functioning under a chaotic law. You have defined yourself as a sinner, and you think God has accepted your definition of yourself rather than the definition he made. You's a damn fool, as my father used to say. And that brings us to the last and final one. The fourth law of chaos. That this must be true if the other ones are accepted. This one is a oldie but goodie. This law of chaos is the belief that you have, but this is a blessing to escape this one. Oh my God, it's a blessing. The belief that you have what you have taken. The belief that you have what you have taken. By this belief, another person's loss becomes your gain, and thus it fails to recognize that you can never take away from anything except from yourself. You can only take away from yourself. And this is, brothers and sisters, this is a beautiful law. Now I want to deal with this. Give me 2 or 3 more minutes. I'm going to deal with it and I'm out of here. This is a beautiful. There are those with the gift of giving. I know several people like that. They have this gift of giving. And that gift of giving is a healing gift. And oh my God, it's a healing gift. Here's why. The person you give to, they're in all walks of life, by the way, these people. They have this gift. the person or thing you are giving to out of that gift, and I'm not talking about coercion. I'm not talking about guilt. That's not giving as a gift. That is giving by somebody forcing you basically to do it. But the person or entity that you are giving to needs healing to understand that giving and receiving are the same thing. The person that is giving is learning that receiving is the same thing, and the person that's receiving is learning that giving is the same thing. You need to chew on that. You need to chew on it. But under the laws of chaos, you think that you have what you have taken. So the person that has this gift of giving is healing a person from the mind of lack. And the person with the mind of lack is healing the person with the gift of giving to understand how to receive. And this is why, when I challenge you, why is it that when you go to church, the basket never comes back for you to pick out what you need out of the basket? But the basket is always going up, coming out empty, and coming back to them full. But it always comes back to you empty. There's an exchange going on. This exchange that's going on is a healing on both sides. Now, under the world, they know that they are functioning under the law of chaos, so they're not going to let you in on this secret. So you'll never see the basket come back. But the laws of chaos, I'm just going to quickly review them and I'm out of here. One, the first law of chaos, that there's a different law for everybody, a different truth for everybody. Your truth, my truth, his truth, her truth. The second law of chaos is found in the fact that everyone must sin. It is a law of chaos. And I know your preacher going to quote to you the book of 1 John. If any man say he has not sinned, he has made him a liar and the truth is not in him. But if you keep on reading, it says that you know that he was manifest to take away our sins, and in him is no sin, and he that is of him sinneth not. So which one is it? Don't let them tie you to sin. The third law of chaos is that since you believe you're a sinner, God must believe you're a sinner, and therefore God must hate you for it and punish you and forgive you at the same time, because he's crazy as you are. And lastly, the last law of chaos is what I just went through in this talk and talking about that that you have what you have taken from somebody. So listen, tune in 9:45 Eastern Central Time on Sunday for Sunday school. And I'm going to check out of here right now, playing the wrong thing. I'm supposed to be playing Candace Woodson. By the way, this is Candace Woodson. She's a friend of mine. She gave me permission to play her songs on my broadcast. So this is Candace Woodson. It's on it's called Nothing Better. So if you want to get it, go ahead and go to Spotify and get it, or buy it offline. I'm Dr. Fleming, and I'm out of here.
content are the simple things. The smile on your face, the joy it brings, the feeling inside takes my breath